What was that? What was
I had
that,
to bring,
Rister?
I had to bring us back in.
Yeah, you did bring us back in. Welcome back. This is Front Row Material. My name is Mike Freland. I'm joined by my follically challenged friend. His name is
The Ritt.
It is hour number 2, and we are going to continue with the hard hits. Joining us right now is Ruby Raze, and she has done just about everything. I was reading some notes she'd sent me, and from her education to the world of wrestling to her family to her background, there's so many things, so many layers to unpeel, kind of like an onion. But once again, just like our very first guest, there's so much to get here that I feel like we may have to make it a 2-parter, maybe a 3-parter, because there's so many stories that I think can be told. So you know what? Instead of me talking, I'm going to shut up.
Freland, first things first.
Yeah.
Let's just make it through the first one, because she might not want to come back after a second one.
I'm trying to set this up for like a repeat.
You can
event.
set it up all you want. She's already trying to break me when I'm trying to interview Vin in the back.
I saw that.
Yes, it worked.
It did. It worked very well. You know what? Let's bring in the lovely, the vivacious. Here she is. Ruby, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you?
We are well. We are well. We're so happy to have you because been waiting for this for a while and love to get a chance to hear your story and share your story with our audience as well.
Thank you. I'm glad to sit here and talk with you guys. I really feel like my camera up down is wrong. Do I need to switch my camera?
I was say, if you turn your phone the other way.
There we go.
And now I'm off center. Okay, how do I?
Don't
Rick's
worry.
always off center. Yeah. You're
Nope.
perfectly fine.
Other side. This side, that side. What do I do with my hands? All right.
So let's just kind of get into it here. First of all, how have you been? I mean, I know the world's been topsy-turvy, upside down with COVID. Some places were running shows. Some places were running limited capacity shows. Some people weren't able to. We heard this from a lot of people. You know, I'm not able to get as many bookings as I used to before, depending on the state. So how has this affected you in your life?
Absolutely horrible. Absolutely horribly. For those that don't know, I am in Southern California, where we have the LA County hotspot of California. So a lot of things have been canceled. A lot of things aren't running. Things that get set up to run end up getting canceled because of new mandates or this or that. Just personally, as a professional wrestler, I've had a lot of out-of-state bookings that got canceled because spots ended up becoming hotspots, such as I was supposed to do a couple shows in Austin. All of them got canceled. Otherwise than that, I'm great. Like, there's still hope. There's still life in this world. We're still alive. I've got the ocean. I've got bodyboarding. I've got surfing. Level Up down here in San Diego with B-Boys running as much as they can. So I'm lucky to find a second home there. Santino Brothers is back in training, so that's going really well. Just kind of sucks being a California wrestler right now. I'm not going to lie. Not a whole lot going on. There really isn't.
You're in San Diego. Happen to be a Padres fan?
I'm not in San Diego.
Oh.
I'm in San Diego a lot because I'm down training with Level Up or just going to hang out in San Diego with B-Boy and all of them. I am actually in Ventura, California, a very little known spot. We're south of Santa Barbara. Like, if you take LA and then you take Santa Barbara, I'm like dead in the middle of it. So I'm about an hour and a half north of LA.
Where would, not to turn this into a geography thing, but where's Riverside?
In the Inland Empire, which is essentially you go down to LA and then you keep going east toward the desert.
Gotcha. Okay. I have some friends who live out in that area, so I'm always trying to, in my mind, picture where they're at in relation to Los Angeles. So
here's me at the beach. Then here's Los Angeles. Then here's the Inland Empire going inward more.
Okay. So it's gotta feel good though. I mean, to live by the beach, get out there, soak up the rays, hit the water, as opposed to places where I am, Ohio, and there's just a dirty river and places that we call a beach, which it's just a giant lake that we've put beach or child's play sand all around. It's not really a beach, but it's got to be fun to live in a place like that. A lot of us would describe that as kind of a paradise situation.
Oh, absolutely. If I walk out my door to get in my car and drive to the beach, takes me a maximum of like 15 minutes.
Wow.
And that's going from through my city to the freeway and then exiting, and I go to the furthest beach that I could go to. It's great. I grew up on the beaches in Southern California. I grew up bodyboarding. I grew up in the sand, dirty, being in the water till my lips turned blue. Like all that is what I loved as a kid. And the good thing about the pandemic is it took me back to what I loved because of wrestling. I had stopped going out bodyboarding and everything that I did, and it's been 13 years now that I hadn't done it. But over pandemic, I got a chance to figure out, well, what am I going to do now? Well, I always said, when I can't wrestle, I'm going to go surf. So I got back to surfing. I got back to, you can look in my closet, and there's a surfboard in my closet. I have 2 bodyboards. I have one in my trunk, one in my office. So it's nice. It's nice having that there. It's a nice release, you know.
You know, a lot of people have told us that, you know, the pandemic was not good, but there were some aspects that were kind of nice for the wrestling aspect of it, because you can let your body heal. You can at least not have to be traveling so much. You actually can have some you time for a little while. Now, obviously not to the extent of what it has become, but a little bit of downtime is always kind of nice, just to be able to kind of collect yourself and to reignite some of those passions that you have outside of wrestling, and to be able to kind of explore yourself. Because I can imagine that you just get into this robotic routine. Here's another show. Here's another city. I got to travel here. I got to take my bags. And, you know, when I talked to Jerry, he basically says there's times when you forget what city you're in, because every hotel room starts to look like every other hotel room. Every meal doesn't necessarily always taste that great because it's the same meal you've had before. So being able to have a little bit of downtime definitely is something that probably from a mental standpoint and a physical standpoint is nice for a period of time. But then obviously, you know, you're in this business for a reason. You want to get back on that horse and keep on going. The first thing I want to kind of get into is you came from a family of athletes, and really, really hardcore athletes. So talk to us a little bit about that, and then obviously how that kind of had influences on you.
Well, directly, my brother was a state championship wrestler. He was good enough that he got scholarship to go to the John Hitchcock wrestling camp. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but that's for freestyle wrestling. He was amazing, and I actually started learning wrestling from my brother about, let me see, he was in high school, so that means I was about 7, 8 years old. I took my first German suplex at about 8 years old.
Whoa!
It sucked. They called it a souffle, but that's the wrestling term for it, a souffle. I hit my foot on the nightstand, and I cried and I cried and I cried, and then I asked to do it again. But my brother's the one who initially taught me wrestling. It was very mat-based freestyle wrestling, Greco-Roman type wrestling, a bunch of that. My dad was a wrestler and a boxer in high school. My grandpa was a boxer. He also dabbled in wrestling. It's been very much in my family, like combat sports where you learn to defend yourself, were very much the norm in my family. Heck, even as a child. Bonus, even as a child, when we would do family reunions, we have a family ranch where the family all gathers. We go to the family ranch, and at reunions, as a child, they would put boxing gloves on us and have it duke us out with our cousins. And it was always, it didn't matter if it was a guy or a girl. Like, you know, here's a 4-year-old against a 4-year-old. Hey, let's go. And it wasn't like, don't think baby fight club, you know, where we have to, you know, tap out when we're bleeding too much, whatever. It was very much, it was all in like good fun. Like we'd go in there and like, no, I don't want to be here, no. You know, then that kid is done, whatever. But it was really cool, like growing up in that sort of environment, because it always taught me that it doesn't matter who you are, a guy or girl, you got to learn how to defend yourself, and you stand up for, you know, whoever you are. So that was great. But yeah, my family has been a family of fighters, be it athletic fighters or social justice. My family fought alongside Cesar Chavez and the farm workers union. They went on strike. We lost our houses. We lost family homes and stuff like that because we were fighting for the rights of people. So being a fighter, it has always been in me and been in my family.
You know, it's when we say fighter, it kind of morphs into many other things, not just the physical stuff, but the heart, the passion, what you believe in, your morals, your values. I think being a fighter is about perseverance and it's about your character. And I think that really dovetails well into your career as far as everything you fought for and you've worked to get to where you are. Something I thought was really, really interesting about you is you're big into art as well. Is that right?
Very much so, yes.
So tell me a little bit about how you got interested in art, how that all kind of happened, because all of this is part of the story that kind of leads us into the world of wrestling. So tell us a little bit about your love of art.
So essentially, I've always loved art. I always loved photography. I'd like, in a perfect world, my ultimate job would be to show everybody what I see through my eyes and the beautiful things I see, the bad things I see. I want to show the world just what I see through my paradigm, through my eyes. Back in, goodness, 2005, I had a very weird job. I was a club personality. So essentially, I was an influencer before influencers were the internet thing. I got paid to write about going to clubs. I got paid to go to clubs. I got paid to socialize with people. I got paid to dance and drink and hobnob and be a socialite, essentially. I did that for 2 years. And in those 2 years while I was at the club, I started taking my camera out with me, taking pictures. And next thing you know, I'm getting paid for taking pictures. I had gone to a traditional college, essentially, and I got kicked out for a very low GPA. It was below a 1.0 GPA. So that's how I got kicked out of community college. However, I did good at this art thing, and a lot of my pictures were popular, and I got to sell some. So I decided to go to art school. I went to art school, and while I was there, we had to choose a field of specialty. And I chose like basically concert photography and sports, because those are two I really liked. Sports photography, I actually met someone at my job you probably heard of, maybe not, George Johnson, who also knew youth suicide.
Okay.
If you know anything about the backyard scene, he knew youth suicide, which was right out here. They were doing backyard shows around my town. So I started doing professional wrestling photography for backyard, and then I started doing professional wrestling photography for professional spots, and that's where I met Joey Chaos and, you know, Jezebel, a bunch of people. And that led me to want to be a photographer for WWE. However, at the time, and I'm dating myself, back when I was in art school, it was like 2006, they had certain standards of height and stuff that they wanted for the photographers. I did not meet that. I am too tall. They wanted people under 5'6" for ringside photography, and that was not me.
Now, wait a minute. Why would that play a factor? I mean, talent is talent. I mean, I'm just confused.
So was I. So I was in art school, and when we started having to reach out to figure out what we're going to do afterwards, I said I wanted to do WWE ringside photography. Apparently that was their standard. They wanted 5'6", blah, blah, blah. I'm guessing it has to do something with the ring height and being in the way of cameras and et cetera, et cetera. But they had, back then, they had standards of what they wanted for the people that would shoot for them. Also, there were no females shooting for them at that time. So I was a female. They had room for portrait photography. However, I was studying visual journalism, so that didn't matter. It had nothing to do with portrait photography. I don't have that high megapixel camera. I don't know what to do. But because I started doing photography, ringside photography, I actually wound up shooting for a bunch of promotions. It took me across the United States shooting for promotions, where I met what would come to be my fiance, now ex-fiance, who was my gateway drug to being a professional wrestler.
That is an awesome segue right there to, you know, getting into wrestling itself, being introduced that way. Continue.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a wrestler. Honestly, it was the Attitude Era that brought me to want to be a professional wrestler, mainly because of China. China was very unconventional. She had unconventional looks. She had an amazing physique. She had a ginormous presence whenever she was in the ring. She was very inspirational to me. And even before then, as a child, I watched Glow.
Yes.
I love the Glow girls, and seeing such women empowered and in power was like my first thing. Oh yeah, I want to be like Hollywood. I did want to be like Hollywood. I want to be like Hollywood. I want to be like Vine. I love the bad girls. I wanted to be like them. So it was always in my head that I wanted to do this, and the Attitude Era brought it back again. And then me being a photographer brought it back again. So it feels like there's always been some sort of draw that brought me back to professional wrestling. So that leads me to essentially where I actually got into wrestling. I was managing Tyler Bateman, Funny Bone, and Drago, now known as Simon Gotch. I was managing them in a trios, and when we were the Violence Unlimited, that was our name. When they broke up, I stayed with Tyler Bateman, and I stayed managing him. And the manager to wrestler seemed to be the natural and easy progression, because I learned everything on the road with Tyler for 5 years. I managed him, and I learned my bumps, my this, my that. I learned all these things just watching professional wrestling, being that close and being backstage. You learn so much. So the progression from being a manager for 5 years to being a professional wrestler became super easy. So I've gone through the line. I've been the photographer, I've been the manager, I've been the wrestler, and now I've even been the booker and storyline writer. So it's been a lot.
It's been a very interesting career that's taken you all over the place and allowed you to fulfill a lot of things that, from a creative standpoint, anybody who's interested in the arts has a different eye for things. They see things, they are able to perceive things in a different way, and they're able to present that. And I think that really lends itself well to wrestling, where it's all about the visual, it's all about the perception, it's all about creating this experience that if you can capture it. So when it comes to wrestling, obviously, you'd mentioned Joey Chaos and Santino Brothers. I'm a big, big, big fan of Santino Brothers. I follow them. I watch their videos. I think Joey is, in my opinion, one of the realest people. And sometimes that gets overthrown sometimes, but he explains things so well so the average person can understand it. Doesn't use wrestle speak, if that makes sense. So tell me a little bit about what your experiences were with Santino Brothers, because I would love to hear some more of that.
Yeah, definitely. So the year that I started grad school at USC is the same year that I started at Santino Brothers. It was June of 2013. I was moving to LA to go to grad school at USC. At the same time, I started with Santino's. My classes were me, Joey, Joey's wife, and one other girl. Essentially, I got private lessons from Joey when I started at Santino Brothers off the bat. And that was amazing because his wife, obviously, she already knew how to wrestle. The other girl that was in the class wasn't there necessarily to be a wrestler. She was there because she wanted to learn some stuff and get physically fit. Because if you've ever done a wrestler's workout, it is taxing. I was the one who was there who was trying to be the training wrestler. So whenever it came time to do stuff in the ring, Joey was always, all right, let's go, Ruby, let's go, Ruby, let's go, Ruby. Before I knew it, and before I even felt like I was prepared, Joey's like, get in the ring with me. Okay, we're gonna wrestle. Okay. Here I am with Joey Chaos. And it was amazing how natural it came to me because of all those years that I did spend learning with Tyler Bateman and learning on the road and meeting people and having people like Ricardo Rodriguez, like Chris Evans, like Benny, B-Boy, a bunch of people taught me along the way. So it was very natural, and Chaos gave me about 3 months of private lessons before I got his blessings to go take bookings outside. In his words, I was trained, he just cleaned me up and sent me out into the world. Training with Joey is very interesting because he's so positive. For a man who had the persona that he did in professional wrestling, he's so positive, and he's so, yeah, you could do it, you could do it. it can't help but inspire you as well. At the same time, Joey is very much someone who will put you through the ringer without really letting you know that he's putting you through the ringer. And it's very interesting how he does this. So let's say that we're there at a warm-up session. We're doing 100 squats. Not bad. Easy day. Easy day. You know, we're doing 100 squats. 100, 98, 99, 100. Yeah. Then he'll go 50 more for the wrestling gods. You're like, all right, another 50. 49, 50. Yeah. 10 more for the wrestling gods. And then he adds things on without you really knowing that he's slipping these things into you. But like he says, treat yourself, don't cheat yourself. All those things just go to help you more in the ring.
I like that. The Santino brothers, I watch a lot of their instructional videos that they basically kind of pull back the curtain and they let you know, hey, this is how this happens. This is how that happens. And I think what I get from most of it, what I take away from most of it is there is so much work that goes into just perfecting one element of it, that the level of dedication to this profession is insane. It never stops, and it is very demanding. It is very taxing. So tell me a little bit about what would the difference be between when somebody is, let's say, coming into training to be a valet versus somebody who's coming in to specifically train to be a wrestler in the ring. Does it kind of start out the same and then at some point it branches off?
Well, so before Santino Brothers had just the classes like beginners, intermediate, advanced, semi-pro. Now, however, Santino Brothers came up with this new system where they still have the wrestling classes to go beginner, intermediate, advanced. However, now they've added these things called advocate classes, whereas a separate class, you're not training with wrestlers, but wrestlers will go train with you. So if you want to be a manager, if you want to be a referee, if you want to be a commentary announcer, depending on what you want to do that is not a professional wrestler itself, there is this other class now. So, and maybe I'm not answering your question correctly, but they have this class. They just actually ended their first 2021 session. It was on Tuesday nights, where everything else production-wise goes and trains at this class. And then they'll do wrestling matches. So they pull in wrestlers to this class to do matches for the commentators, to do commentary for these matches, for the lighting people to give the lightings and all the fog and all this for these matches. Hosts, announcers announce the people. So there's this difference now. Back in the day, however, you just had to go through, I know you had to go through beginners, you definitely had to go through intermediates, but I think after intermediates, you could stop if you were going to be a manager or if you were going to be like a commentary or a referee. However, we have some referees at Santino's that are dang amazing wrestlers too, because a lot of the times referees, managers and all that, they have to learn how to take their bumps. They have to learn what's going on in the ring. So they have to go through all that training too. Yep. So it's kind of cool. I really like the new system they have. I think it makes it better because it gives more focus to the advocates, to everything else besides the wrestler. And wrestlers also able to help them too.
So did he ever have anybody go there for become a referee, but then they were just, called on really quickly. So they were like, hey, why don't you, try to become a wrestler?
Okay, so I don't know if you guys know who Ref Jeremy Marcus is. He refs for New Japan. He refs for Santino Brothers. He refs for a lot of places. He's one of the people where I've sat there, I'm like, why aren't you a wrestler? You're in such good shape. You do such great wrestling. He's like, no, my body can't handle it. A lot of times they feel like their body can't handle it, or they couldn't take doing all the bumps, or they can't do maybe as much of the travel as you have to do as a wrestler. But there was Jeremy. Jeremy's one of those where I was like, should wrestle. You have a great body. You're a great wrestler. You're a referee. I want to be a referee. And he's done great. He's at New Japan. He does a lot of stuff. Amazing.
Yeah, it is interesting to find out, when you look at somebody, and no matter what the profession may be, you're really good at X, but then you find out, well, they really want to do Y. And you feel like you should convince them, no, do X, you're good at it. But some people want to be the next Earl Hebner. Some people want to be the next Mike Chioda. As much as some people want to be pro wrestlers, some people literally just have that thing for wanting to be in a different element, a different aspect. They want to be involved, but maybe not all the attention on them, but they still want to be part of the show, which I totally get as well.
Yeah, I met Aubrey. She was going as girl Hebner, and now she's at AEW as the Aubrey from AEW. Like, she is amazing at what she does, and she's one of the people I'm like, do you want to be a female wrestler too? No, okay. But look at her now. Like, she does, and what she's doing is awesome.
I love the fact that wrestling now is empowering women and putting them at the top of the card as well. I feel, and I may be in the minority of this, but I didn't really like the whole Divas Championship and the bra and panties matches and the pillow fights and all that. I felt like it was kind of like, yeah, it sells tickets. I get it. Yes, they're probably making a good living at it. But I mean, at the end of the day, some of these women do aspire to be taken seriously, and they deserve to be taken seriously. And you're never going to know what some of these women are capable of doing unless you actually put them in the position to succeed. And I think China was a great one. Trish Stratus was a great one. They kind of started to break that ceiling. And then the Litas came around as well. And then the Molly Hollies. And you started to see, oh my God, these women are really good. And yes, they have incredible looks, but they also have the ability to tell a story in the ring much, much more than just ripping skirts off and stuff like that. Did you ever feel like, I get it, it's a show, but this stuff over here, I don't know. Do you think some of the girls ever have any second thoughts about what they were getting themselves into when it comes to some of that stuff?
So when I first started wrestling, the whole point why I went from a manager to being a wrestler, besides the fact that I wanted to wrestle, was the fact that I really wanted to help Southern California women's wrestling. I wanted to help it get on the map. I wanted to show there could be good female wrestling, because as a manager, all the matches I saw, I'm like, why are the girls not doing this in the match? Why aren't they doing these moves? Why aren't they doing these moves? And I was just told that's how girls wrestle. And I'm like, no, why aren't they pushing the envelope? Why aren't they? But when I started first wrestling, I was highly offended when I saw a match here in Southern California, and the girl let herself be put over a guy's knee and spanked and stuff like that to the applaud of the audience. And that got me really mad. As time progressed, I noticed girls feeling like it was okay to go back to that sort of thing where you're getting spanked, or a bra and panties match, or this and that. And it got me really upset. I'm going to speak for Southern California. I feel like we've fought too hard and come too far to go back to that. Mm-hmm. That we are worth more, and we could do more, and we're more athletic, and we're more talented than to have to just, throw our tits out or throw our ass out or something to be able to get the applause. We don't have to do that anymore. We have better training now. We have better mentors now. So when I think back to WWE, to me, diva is kind of like a bad word to me. For a lot of the things they did, I felt like that hindered women being taken very seriously as a wrestler. And I know, I personally know some of the divas from back then now. But I feel they probably did what they felt like they were having to do. Because if you were in a position with a company who's like the creme de la creme, and they're telling you to do this, back then, think back, it's what, the late 90s at this point, early 2000s, late 90s. Times were way different then. We couldn't speak out.
Absolutely.
We can now. So I feel like a lot of the times they did what they did because that was what they were told that they have to do, and we really don't have a choice. But now we do. Now we do. And I think now we definitely have better training and better mentors and better opportunities that we don't have to go that route.
Nowadays, we even have, companies that focus solely on the women's. You have Shimmer, you have Mission Pro out there, and it gives you guys a platform to show what you guys can do and show that you guys can, be just as athletic as some of the guys are.
Oh, absolutely. When I went and I did Shimmer before the pandemic, the fall before the pandemic, being in the locker room with that much talent is just, it's humbling, because you have people like cheerleader Melissa, you have Mercedes, you have Soraya Knight, Jessica Havoc, you have all these people, Kimberly, that are amazing. You have that spot, which is definitely 100% female wrestling. I'm not sure that we have any other spots that are 100% female wrestling in California, in the United States. Oh, Shine. But I think it's important to have those spots. But more importantly than having those spots, it's very important to have females on a card and not just one match. I know that seems to be like, and then we need the girls match. No, we need more than just the girls match. We need, it'd be great to have 2 matches, but convince the promoter. I don't know. We'll see.
We had an interview with a friend of the show, and we have a tremendous amount of respect for Lufisto. And she fought for women's rights up in Canada as well. And I tell you what, when, just like what you said before, it pissed me off, I took offense to it, and I basically said, we are not going back. And she basically had that same feeling, north of the border. And she said, no, this is not right. This is wrong. But it takes trailblazers. It takes people like you speaking up. It takes people like Lufisto speaking up to basically say, we need and we deserve to be treated on an even playing field. And, with what Ritt mentioned as well, I mean, what I love about Mission Pro is it's an all-women's promotion run by women as well. And I feel like people like Thunder Rosa as well is really highlighting the women as big stars, and they are. And they're drawing great crowds, and they're getting a lot of exposure and attention to their talent. Let me ask you this. I know guys to a certain degree. Ritt and I have talked to, buku people about this as far as looks, as far as, hey, you need to do this. Hey, you need to do that. You need to put on masks. You need to do this. Tell us a little bit about what it is like on the inside with just the way women are judged when it comes to wrestling. And some promoters are more hypercritical of certain things. Have you ever run into a situation or know any stories about how somebody could be really talented, but a promoter or somebody might say, well, you need to do this or you need to do that before, we put you on a show, which I feel like a lot of women get unfairly judged when it comes to the looks category.
I feel like it's the other way around.
Really?
So me as a professional wrestler, with my looks, my size, my stature, I'm 5'9", I'm 220 pounds. Nobody has ever told me you need to lose weight, you need to sexy up, you need to this, you need to that, blah, 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 blah. Nobody's ever told me that. I think that's because I feel a niche that isn't in necessarily you will find a lot in female professional wrestling. I'm the taller, I'm the bigger, I am, you stand me up. I had a match against Jessica Havoc. You stand me up, we're almost nose to nose. She's a little bit taller than me. Andrea, I don't know if you guys know Andrea the Giant. She's not much bigger than me, but there's a niche for the big girl, which is fine. I've never been told to be sexy or be this, that. However, when I say I feel like it's the other way, if you are the sexy girl, if you are I'm showing a lot of stuff, and I'm going out there and I'm doing what I do, you could be not as good of a wrestler and you're going to get by. And it doesn't matter. If you're out there and you're showing off and you're beautiful and you're showing off your body parts, it becomes a lot easier for you to get a booking, which, okay, good for you. You're getting a booking, but you're not, for the ones that aren't talented, you're getting a booking off your looks. You're not getting a booking off your talent.
Right.
And that happens very often. What happens also is, like, let's say they're getting these girls are getting these bookings because of their looks, not because of their talent. Then you come to someone like that isn't so beautiful, that is super talented. She's probably not getting those bookings. Why not? Because they're looking for something. And I think I'm gonna mention a promotion, Stardom. Kind of, I feel like Stardom kind of sees it, and I feel like they kind of understand it. Where in wrestling, when it comes to females, you're the beauty or you're the monster. You're the beauty or the beast. You have to be one or the other to really excel. And if you're the beauty or if you're the beast, if you're the beauty, you don't have to be that talented because you're the beauty. If you're the beast, you have to be the one that makes sure you take care of someone because you're going to throw them around everywhere.
Right.
If you're somewhere in the middle and you're not the beauty and you're not the beast, then you better be super, super talented to get recognized. And I feel like, I know that I've heard that's the way Stardom books by. And I feel like they might kind of get it because I feel like that's a thing that comes to United States wrestling as well. If you're the beast, you have to be the beast. If you're the beauty, you have to be the beauty. The in-betweens it's like the middle class. You kind of get screwed if you're in the in-between.
Yeah, no, it does make sense because now that you mentioned that, I can think back to numerous times where I've been at a show or I've watched something on TV, one promotion in particular, they will remain nameless. They tend to do that. They tend to put more looks ahead of talent. Most recently, there was a talent that was gone for quite a while. She's now back. Okay, so here's something that bothers me. So let's use Eva Marie, for example, okay? And not to throw names out, but just for the sake of conversation. I don't know if I would necessarily say she's on the high level of talent, but Doudrop, which is the name she has in WWE, if you followed her in her career outside of WWE, she's wickedly good. However, she is given the character of being this friend. And that's the perfect example of what you're saying before. Somebody who does not necessarily look like Eva Marie doesn't mean she's not attractive, but because she doesn't, she then becomes the best friend to somebody who is less successful in the ring. And I think that is really the situation that I think you're kind of talking about that faces a lot of people. You know, you're either the knockout that unfortunately can't do a whole lot or has a limited ability, or you have somebody who doesn't fit that mold, but they can go and they will get the fans really into the matches. And I can see from a female perspective how absolutely frustrating that would be.
It's never been frustrating to me as a person. It's never been frustrating to me for my jobs and where I know I'm getting hired. However, I definitely see it as frustrating when I see, and not naming names, females that are, I'm going to sound shitty when I say this, they're not good wrestlers, but they're getting these opportunities and they're getting these bookings solely based off their looks. And a lot of them, they don't think, it sounds like I'm going to talk shit. They don't think that they're getting these opportunities because everybody blows smoke up their ass like, oh my God, yeah, you're so good. You're so good. Guess what? They do that to me too, but I'm fucking smarter to think and be like, no, I know I needed help in this match. I know where things went wrong in this match. Tell me what's wrong. Tell me the critiques. But a lot of people, and maybe it's just the nowadays generation, how people operate, they don't want to hear the bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like as a wrestler, you need to hear the bad. You got to hear what's wrong. I know what I do well. That's fine. I know what I do well. Tell me what I did wrong. I want to know this. But a lot of people don't want to do that. They want to hear that they did right, and this was great, and this is great, and this is great. Okay. I'm going to go back to the beauty of the match or the ring or whatever. If you try to approach a lot of them and tell them what's wrong, they don't want to hear about it. They want to hear what they did good. And maybe it's not just them. It's a lot of people. They just want to hear what they did good. And if you tell them that something is wrong, well, but the fans liked it. Okay, that's fine. The fans did like it, and that's great. But this is wrong, and this is why. Well, yeah, but okay. You just stop. because
you're just wasting your breath.
Yeah, you're wasting your breath. I think for women in general, for women's wrestling, we need to be, as a whole, more open to all the criticisms that we get, and not just try to take everything that makes us feel happy-go-lucky. Like I said, we all know what we do good. Tell us what we do bad. And that's hard to hear, and that's the stuff we need to hear.
I think that also kind of boils down to people who are willing and wanting to grow, and those who are afraid to grow because they may be exploited by the things that they are not that capable in. So they try to emphasize on, well, what I did right, instead of, hey, you know what? This was good, but you also need to make sure you're keeping an eye on X, Y, and Z. From a lot of conversations that Ritt and I have had, and I kind of had a feeling about this, but I've learned this a lot by doing these interviews. Egos are extremely fragile in wrestling. And everybody does want to get the accolades, and they want to definitely be praised and showered with praise. But, talking to Jerry Lynn and getting to know him over the years, he was always the type of person that would say, what else can I do? That was fine, but how can I get better? And it seems like there's that group of people who see what they do and they say, okay, this is fine, but how do I take it to the next level? I'm not content with this. And it's in any profession. Okay, I'm not content with this. I will never be content. And someone once told us in an interview, I'll never be content until I'm where I'm at. And then even when I'm at that, I still won't feel content, because that's just who I am. I push myself. And I think those are the type of people that you want in your promotion, in your company, because they are going to continue to strive to get better and not rest on their laurels and say, oh, well, last show was really good. We're just going to keep using that same formula.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I've been very, very fortunate to be around people in professional wrestling, both men and women, kind of a lot more men just by numbers, that are those people that will be very honest with me. Tyler Bateman, or known as Bateman right now in ROH for one, is a person who I could talk to. He will always give me the truth. I've been fortunate now to work with PCW, with Sheik at PCW, where he's always handing me the truth. And the people that he brings in there, I could have them watch my matches and give me those critiques and stuff, and they'll tell me the truth. Like, if you have any of those people in the corner that will tell you the truth under any given circumstances, those are the people that you want around you, because those are the people that help you grow as a person, as a performer, as a wrestler. That those are also the people that keep you in the back of the mind when they're like, oh, she wants to grow. She needs, she should have these opportunities to grow. He should have these opportunities, whoever you're talking about. But you need to find, as a wrestler, you need to find those people that will be upfront and honest about you. Honest about you, which is the key word, because that's where you're going to go and that's where you're going to learn.
I agree. Gosh, it's so fascinating being able to pick somebody's brain here. We're here with Ruby Raze. If you're just tuning in right now, thank you so much. We appreciate that. We've been talking about wrestling and not only your family, but your academics and how you are big into the arts and photography, and that kind of led to the pro wrestling and the Santino brothers. Let's kind of take a few steps backwards. So once you were officially cleared and ready to go, training is done. Then again, obviously you're always learning something, so training's never technically done. When you first get out there, what was it like? Was it hard getting bookings? Was it hard to make contacts with people? Or was it a situation of, man, my training facility, my trainers, they took care of us. They did kind of introduce us to some people, and that just kind of started to snowball.
It wasn't hard to get bookings at all. And it has nothing to do with Joey or Joey reaching out for us, or, he does, but by the way, he does try to help us out a lot. What it came down to for me was the matter of fact that I was a manager for 5 years before I ever got to train to be a wrestler. And yeah, in those 5 years of managing, I did battle royals. I did tag matches as a manager, not as a wrestler. I'm a manager going to this match. And then I had my very first singles match before I ever got fully trained at Santino's. But a lot of the times the wrestling industry is so starved for female talent that it doesn't matter even if you're fully trained or not. They're already knocking at your door. So before I even went to train at Santana Brothers, when they saw that I had my first singles match, my inbox was already bing, 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 bing. Hey, come wrestle. I'm like, no, I'm not trained. 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 That was also a driving factor for me to actually get trained. Was these people were reaching out to me. Once I was trained, people that were more knowledgeable, such as Bart Pitsky from AWS out here in California, was hitting me up. It wasn't, for me, it wasn't hard. Like I said, I was a manager, and Southern California, and California in general, is starved for female wrestlers. We have in Southern California, I will say 6 female wrestlers on any given date. To choose from. So recently, I had a booking up here in Santa Barbara, and I was out at a wedding the weekend before, and I wound up getting an eye infection from leaving my contacts in for way too long. But I got an eye infection a week before my booking, and just as the week progressed, my eye infection got worse. And they're like, hey, can you help me find a female wrestler? And I'm like, yeah. So I reached out to my network, and I reached out to different spots where I know females are. I could not find one female wrestler to fill one spot.
Wow, everybody was booked.
And then some people were booked, but there was only about 6 girls. You know, a couple of them were booked in Vegas, and a couple of them weren't. And then there's not a lot. And it's really weird to think that Southern California is so huge, but I'll give us about 6 to 7 wrestlers on any average given week that are females. That's it.
Wow. So you got your career, it's going along. Is there anybody that you run into, whether it's at a show or wherever, that pulls you aside and kind of gives you some compliments or says, hey, you know, I really like what you're doing? Any really good little one-on-one chats that you've gotten from somebody that was kind of important during the early stages of your career that kind of helped motivate you and keep you going, that, hey, you know what, I am doing what I should be doing?
I know throughout my early career, obviously Bateman, I was managing him, and he was there for me when I had my first match. And as I went on, he was there while I started, you know, wrestling as a female. There's a promoter in Northern California, John LaRocca, who ran Premier Wrestling out of Gilroy, which is a really great spot. They did a more sports style wrestling where they kept track of the wins, losses, and he was one of the people that believed in me first. Oh my God, how could I forget? Roland Alexander. Do you know who he is?
Roland Alexander is from the movie. Oh my gosh, Beyond the Mat.
Roland Alexander was probably the very first person to ever really believe in me as a wrestler. Yes, Beyond the Mat, Roland. He used to see me coming through as a manager. Now I'll tell you, incidentally, the best and the worst compliment I ever got. He said, you know, when I first saw you walk out as a manager, I didn't think shit of you. Thought you were just another girl coming through here to bring her boyfriend through the paces at the APW garage. But then I saw you working, and I saw you get the crowd to hate you, and I saw you get the crowd to hate your guy. He's like, by God, he called me the best corner man he's ever seen. Wow. And he told me that he cannot wait to see me as a professional wrestler because he knew I was going to start training. And I'm probably going to cry. He knew I was starting training, and I was getting ready to look for wrestling schools because, like I said, it was the same time where I was starting grad school. So I was applying to Palo Alto. I was applying to Harvard. I was applying to all these places, and I strategically applied to grad schools that had wrestling schools near them. So I was talking to him about it, and when he finally told me, just go what's best for the school and you'll find a wrestling school near you, I went to USC and I started Santana Brothers. And I was in my first semester at USC. It was the fall semester, obviously. And he wrote me a message about how he was really excited that I found a school that I was going to go to. And he was really excited to see me in the wrestling ring coming soon, and that he was going to book me at APW, the next show that they had. And then he wound up passing. And when I heard he passed, I was actually in class. I got a message from Benny that he passed, and I messaged Bateman. And I was in school. I left school that day, and the next day we drove up to Northern California, which is about 8 hours away from us, to go up. They were going to do a memorial show for Roland. Not the next day, like 2 days later, they were going to do a memorial show because they needed to raise money. And it was very it was nice to get to be in the APW garage and be in the ring. It was sad that he wasn't there for it. And he was literally like the first person that actually reached out, that he believed in me, and he gave me a lot of advice. I sat with him at Hit Slam a couple of times, and he told me what he thinks I should do, and he gave me a lot of advice on how to get through it. And I never deleted those messages. I have them in my Facebook messages. But yeah, it was Roland. Roland is probably the one that stuck out the most.
Roland cared a lot about APW. And he cared a lot about everybody. I mean, with Mike Modest, that was a big thing, obviously, in the movie. And he treated everybody like family. And it was one of those things where, and you don't find that a lot when it comes to, at least back then, with schools that really made you feel welcome. And especially when somebody who's been in the industry as long as he had, saw you and really kind of gave you that inspiration that kind of kept you going, which I think is amazing. And that's got to be incredibly tough. Losing somebody in general is hard, but losing somebody who believes in you and gave you that special thing that you can't get from everybody, especially when it's something you're doing that you love doing. It resonates with you for forever. And I think that is an amazing story. And I'm glad you shared that. It's sometimes they're not easy, but I do appreciate you sharing that in a personal message as well.
Roland, I know I hate seeing, when people talk shit about Roland, and everybody has their own experiences with everybody, but to me, he was nothing but good, and he was nothing but helpful, and he was nothing but positive to me. And so that's the way I think about him in my head. And I'm really glad that I actually got to wrestle at the APW garage, even though he wasn't there to see it. He was somewhere above looking down. So that's great. And yeah, I still apply. I still apply, and I actually teach to younger generations a lot of the things that he taught me. So
this is awesome. I so badly want to do a part 2 as well with you, because I feel like there's so much to talk about. Not only you as the wrestler, but you as the individual who's experienced so many things within this industry. I think our listeners would love to hear more of that. We're kind of backed up on the clock here, but
yeah.
let me ask you this question here. When it comes to wrestling, as far as how can people follow you, and what are some of the social media platforms? If there's merchandise, where can we plug that as well to plug everything that is Ruby?
Just find me under any social media under Razor Pops. I made it really easy for all my followers. It's RAZERPOPS. So you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, probably like on pretty much any social media site you could think of. Just find me there. My website's down right now. Sorry, I'll fix it. But everything else.
We are so happy. We got some questions here.
What's more fulfilling at the end of a match? Crowd pops or the knowing that you had a technically sharp match?
Ooh, excellent question.
Knowing that I had it, you're essentially asking me what's the difference between a good match and an overmatch. I'd like to know that I had a good match. So that's knowing that I had a technically sharp match, but also at the same time, I'm not going to lie, it's kind of sad when you do have a technically sharp match and the crowd doesn't pop for it.
You just don't want to get on top, just stand up and go, "You morons! This was damn good. You didn't like it? Go to hell. Go sit and spin." No, I can definitely, and I know a lot of people who are watching this stream right now can tell that you are very passionate about what you do, and you speak with a lot of conviction, and you have so much to offer even when you're done wrestling. And I know you had mentioned earlier that, you're doing some booking and some other things as well. I love it when I hear somebody say, after I'm done in the ring, I would still like to stay in the industry and continue on. Can I assume that that is something that would definitely go for you as well?
Oh boy, yes. Believe me, I have one-off shows in my head, like streaming already, and I already knew who I want for everything. And by the way, I do book and produce Up All Night. I did before. We're getting back to Up All Night again. So for Santino Brothers Up All Night, look that up. But yeah, if I can't do it in the ring anymore, or something happens, I'm gonna still do something. And it'll be something to show you guys some damn cool stuff.
Well, you are beautiful. You are incredibly talented, and you got a heart of gold. And we are so thankful that we were able to get some of your time today. And once again, we are definitely going to sit down, and there's so much more that I would love to dig into here. But guys, please follow her on social media. I'm going to go ahead and put the links up there to her Twitter account. Follow her wherever you see her posting a show. If you were in the area, please go ahead and get your tickets as well. Hit her up as well with any fan questions. Loves to interact with the fans as well. Ruby, I know we've been planning this for a while, and thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I had a great time.
Well, we will do it again, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye. I literally want to have, and I'm going to date myself, a Barbara Walters 90-minute, no interruptions sit down, because like I said before, this is what wrestling is. It's about hearing people's stories about where they came from and how they got to here and the people that influenced them. And it is a very emotional business, because you are literally criticized on every stretch of the way. You think you get criticized at your 9 to 5? Well, talk about wrestling when you're getting passed up for people that, from a look standpoint, not even a talent-based standpoint, but to persevere and always try to get better and always try to find ways to improve yourself. I think Ruby is one of those people, much like Lufisto, who personifies grit and heart. And I'm going to make some text messages and some phone calls myself after this evening is over, because I love to see people like that succeed. And I think everybody who's watching would agree as well.
Man, you know me. Normally, I've got to get that hot tub time machine. I didn't think it was appropriate at the time. And I knew that you were going to be bringing her back. So, hey, there's a time and a place for everything. And tonight just was not that time.
Ritt, okay, and this is not to toot our own horn, but do you ever, after we do a show and it's published on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, whatever it may be, do you ever go back and like really listen to a conversation we had with somebody, because it was like, it was so good that you really got, not only was it good for the audience, but it was good for the wrestling community, but it was something that was important to you. It was like you felt a connection with somebody and you're like, damn, that was a really good conversation.
One of my favorite ones to date has to be C.W. Anderson.
Oh my gosh.
That one hit every corner, every aspect, and he was very open, he hit a lot of our passions. We spent the first 15 minutes talking about baseball. We didn't even get to wrestling, and then he just opened up about everything else, and it was just great.
Yeah. Love this business, but I love having these conversations more than anything else. I really do. And I want to thank everybody who's out there listening right now, watching us. Even if you end up watching this on demand after we go off the air, I just want to say thank you, because it's because of the audience that chooses to tune in and listen that makes all of this worthwhile. And it helps us get the stories out and the messages out of some of these amazing men and women who are in the world of professional wrestling. You get to know them on a different level outside of what you see at a show or on TV. And if you would be so inclined, we'd appreciate it. Hit that follow button on our Twitch channel as well. If you want to see some of the other video interviews that we've done, you can go on over to YouTube. Go ahead and type in Front Row Material. It's all there. Hit the like, subscribe. So anytime a new interview gets posted by our social media team, you'll be able to go ahead and see that as well.
Well, we have a question.
We have a question.
Yeah. This person wants to know who, Freland, in your opinion, was the funniest interviewee we've had.
Oh, wow. Okay. Here's the thing. It's hard because some people have dry senses of humor, right? And it's kind of like they'll say something and it'll just kind of like, fade into the conversation. And you won't pick it up till a few minutes afterwards. And you'll be like, first of all, we have to say Dan Barry. If you have not heard the Dan Barry interview, the man keeps it real. He's got zero fucks to give. Hilarious. Dan Barry would be one. What would be another one you would say?
I have got two.
Okay.
In my opinion. One was Miss Pee Pee Poo Poo, Erica Lee.
Erica Lee. Honk. Hilarious.
I love that one.
Yes.
And another one that I thought was funny was Missa Kate.
Missa Kate from Chicago. Yes, the Krispy Kreme girl.
Because the comment you made and did not realize you made.
Okay, let's readdress this for a second. So, really quickly, Missa Kate, typically in some of our interviews, we'll say, hey, on a cheat day, what are you going to eat on a cheat day, right? As people say, yeah, I'll get like fast food, burgers, this, that. I'll go out for a big breakfast, whatever. Well, it was during the time when I was trying to get an Oreo challenge contest going.
Oh, no. Not trying. We already got 2 participants.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. Hey, no spoilers here. No spoilers here. So I was kind of saying, well, on a cheat day, I like to eat Oreos or whatever. And I said, so what do you like? And she said, I'm a big Krispy Kreme donut person. So not realizing, you ever have one of those moments, you guys, where you literally, you say something, it completely makes sense in your own mind. You say it straight faced. However, the way it comes out can be twisted and turned 9 ways from Sunday. And no, Megan did not hear this episode because somebody had asked me. So she says, oh, I could probably eat more than you could. Oh, God, here we go. I said I could eat you out under the table. And for most people, you pretty much understand what that means. If you're at a bar, I can drink you under the table, right? That's what I meant. I must look like a tool bag because the Ritster's on camera, literally, and I'm thinking he's probably thinking this. You son of a bitch. What did you do? This is the end. This is the end. We're canceled. This is over. Mike makes some obscene comment. And literally, it wasn't until he brought it to my attention after the air. He said, hey, man, I just want to bring this up here to you. Ritt does a good job of making light of something that needs to be addressed, but not making you feel bad or awkward about it. And then when he had that conversation and we hung up, I went, oh, wow. I did say I could eat you out under the table. So that was one of my embarrassing moments.
Well,
I meant it very well.
These are a couple of the listeners we have from Mitchy Blaze. He's saying Trevor Outlaw was fire.
Trevor Outlaw was amazing. Trevor Outlaw is a funny SOB. Love that guy.
Boog saying, now you better say it right.
Mr. Darius Carter.
Correct. Who else we got here?
Yeah, so just one of those deals.
But Dan Barry, more recent, yeah.
Dan Barry was so much fun. Has anybody ever heard of the author Dave Barry? I don't know if he's still alive. Great author, very funny, Dave Barry. So he kind of reminds me of him as far as his humor is concerned. But Darius Carter was great. Who else was really, really funny? Jay Lethal was very, very funny.
Oh my goodness! Especially when he came right in and was like, "I was in the gorilla position, wondering who has a light fixture that is that high."
Yep.
And he came out with you guns a-blazing.
He did. Boog, Babyface, says the devil was really funny as well. I would agree with that one as well. So MWO is very funny as well. I will agree with you on that. They definitely bring the comedy.
But hey, check out all these videos. Head on over to YouTube. Type in Front Row Material. Take a listen. If you don't want, if you sit there and want to listen but not watch, Freland, where do they go?
If you would like to listen to the show but not watch the show, you can obviously get us on iTunes, Spotify, Deezer, anywhere that fine podcasts are made available. We have a ton of them up there. In all of the titles are the people that we were interviewing. We have literally interviewed almost 2 people every single night ever since Ritt and I have kind of been filling in. So there are tons of interviews that you can listen to. Maybe they're people that you've heard of before, but maybe there's some people that you've never discovered before and you'd like to know a little bit more about them. This would be the one that you would really want to do.
So, man. Well, let's take
all right. With that
back.
Yes, with that being said, we're going to step out for commercial. When we come back, it is cool. I can't read your forearm. I don't know what you're trying to do. Let's go ahead, take a commercial. We come back. It's the return of the Rat Pack, return of the panel. Don't go anywhere. This is Front Row Material.